Hi, welcome to Veris AI platform. I'm just going to provide an overview of what we do and walk you through the dashboard and the product a little bit. So Veris is a simulation sandbox platform for enterprise AI agents. What does that mean? So we create these environments that look very much like production. They are very high fidelity, realistic environments. They include all the tools and services that the agent might be using to interact with customers or users, like email or chat or other things, as well as enterprise tools like a payment system or a CRM or a calendar or anything else that the agent needs to interact with the outside world, no matter what platform the agent is built on or what language model it's using. We are creating the world around the agent. So we have simulated users that interact with this agent. We have simulated tools, these enterprise services, and together they create the entirety of the world around the agent. The agent doesn't know it's in simulation. It interacts with our environment. If it's making a tool call, we answer for that tool call. If it's waiting for the user, we act as that user. The goal here is to test this agent over thousands and thousands of simulations and scenarios so we can uncover all the issues. We can find out where the agent is good at, where the agent is not good at. It's like being in production for many months, but only a few hours in simulation. It's like the matrix for AI agents. Now, when you arrive at the dashboard, you will have the two options of either connecting your agent, which is eventually what you want to do, or maybe you can start off by using one of our existing demo agents and jump into it. For example, this is a typical shopping assistant agent that you will find on a website. It's connecting to a database. It's connecting to a payment system. It's built with LangGraph framework. And it's doing simple sort of shopping assistant interactions with the customer. So we can kick off this process and start looking into what you can do with the Veris environment. Let me switch to one of these agents that are already built and run. So if I go to the scenarios, this is where we create all these different test cases and situations to test the agent. I'll come back to it. Simulation runs are when we interact with the agent throughout those scenarios. Then we evaluate those interactions using a lot of different types of checks that can be defined by the user. They're at the scenario level or at the agent level. But I want to show you final answer basically are these audit reports that will tell you, first of all, how did this agent perform under the many situations that we ran it through. In this case, it's a very short amount. It's only 23 sessions. And we found that this agent is overall working maybe halfway through. It's not ready for production. But what went wrong? And we show very granularly, at a very granular level, what were the issues. And then more importantly, how to fix those issues. So that fix could be in form of a system prompt change. Then you can just copy and apply to your agent. And this looks like a diff, basically, what needs to be added or removed from the system prompt. But it's not just that. It could be descriptions of the tools, like tool doc strings. It could be other things around the harness, about even the model with fine-tuning and other methods. The end goal is to get here to know everything that is to be known about this agent under the different situations and scenarios, and going from here and improving the agent. And then you can come back and start this process again. So how did we get to this report? How can you get this audit report of this agent? So the first step, as I mentioned, are the test cases. We call these the scenarios. So these test case scenarios are everything that could happen in an interaction with this agent. And it doesn't have to be a customer-facing agent like the one we're seeing here. Maybe the agent is just a workflow agent and is not doing any interactions with the customers. Doesn't matter. These scenarios are situations that could happen, and they could be sort of like just complex systems, like this complex situation where a user is trying to buy two things at a time, for example. It's like a realistic thing that could happen. If you look at these scenarios, they're very detailed. Like they have personas. The personas have goals that they're trying to pursue. There are data that we populate, different tools, different systems. If there's a database, We provide that based on the scenario. And then what are the checks at the level of the scenario? And this is very granular. You can think about this as, we are testing a lot of things at the same time, because each of these are a test or one or two tests that happen on each scenario. And then you have 50, 100, even 1,000 scenarios. So you can imagine how many checks are actually happening here. So for example, we want to check the correct price. And how do we know the correct price? We're actually generating it, and we want to make sure that the agent is not hallucinating, because we have that ground truth. We can check all of these things. This could be also in form of, say, error handling or edge cases. It could be adversarial cases, a lot of different things that are tested in these scenarios. Then is the concept of simulation, acting out the scenarios, essentially. So this is where the agent, it actually goes into simulation. Agent doesn't know that it's in simulation. The simulated user will say something, and this is based on the scenario. It's trying to acting out the scenario or achieve the objectives of its scenario. The agent might be calling different tools. We simulate the response coming from those tools because we want to control this whole environment, know the ground truth, and know the root causes when something goes wrong. This conversation will go on, and once it's finished, and you saw in the beginning there were, maybe 50 of these, 100 of these, whatever is the number of simulation runs, and then we come to evaluate them. And the evaluation is basically looking at each individual scenario, each individual simulation run, and knowing what went wrong in that specific one. So for example, looking at this specifically, these are the things that actually, this is a very good case where all the checks were correct, whether the checks were at the agent level or they were at the scenario level. And these checks could be edited and customized, and you can add to it by the customer. And a lot of these, maybe in the old world, you were thinking about tests, assertions, maybe you were thinking about evaluations. These are similar concepts, but they have to be very specific because we want to make sure that all the policies in the company are being followed. We want to make sure that the agent is making the right decision under these dynamic scenarios when things change all the time, when the users are very unpredictable and uncontrollable, and when the agent is indeterministic. So that's why we have this very complex simulation environment to make sure that everything looks like production. And finally, instead of looking at each individual one of these like hundreds of simulations, you can look at the audit report. And this is where we have the summation of all of this that I showed in the beginning. And more importantly, how do I actually go about and fixing this? This is the biggest use case of Veris platform, creating these reports, actually improving the agent. These reports can act as a quality assurance report as well. And we have customers that send this to their internal risk teams, or they send it to the QA teams, and that's how they know what scenarios are working, what scenarios are not working, what they need to work on as a developer in the next step. So there are different types of personas that interact with Veris. The engineer or the developer looks at these to try to iteratively improve the agent. And a QA engineer will look at this and decide whether this agent is ready for production. And maybe it is, maybe these cases that is not doing so well are also very rare, or we can route them to a human in the beginning so we don't need to work on them. So this is a very great tool for a quality assurance engineer. This is one of the use cases of Veris. Another use case is creating data for supervised fine-tuning or for reinforcement learning through these environments. And basically, these environments, these trainings require a lot of data and a lot of control and quality over that data that we can generate here. You could also use Veris in a CI/CD environment as a gate, as a regression testing gate, to make sure that any push that goes to production is passing through 100 scenarios that are testing everything before you go to another version. You can use it for A/B testing between different models. Let's say a new Gemini model is coming out and you need to move to that new model because the old model is getting deprecated. how do you know if this agent is robust? You probably want to look at everything that could go wrong and check the agent against those. So all of these things are different ways that people use the Veris simulation environment. And it could be different parts of the software development lifecycle. And actually, for every part of the software development lifecycle, there is a way to use Veris, whether it's A/B testing, development, CI/CD, regression testing, or even post-production to iteratively improve the agent through supervised fine-tuning and reinforcement fine-tuning. Now, getting started is very easy. If I go back here to the original view, when you see and you don't have any other agents, you will see the instructions on how to get started with Veris. You have this like basically 1 or 2 commands on the CLI to get started. And there's the documentation here. You can have a look, or you can start with one of these demo agents. There is a help button that is always coming to us. So you can just put questions here, and there's full documentation. This is the free version that is used out there for testing Veris on a trial, basically. But there's a lot of limitations here that you will face. For example, when you're trying to actually launch a scenario and generate new cases here, you can do that. You can say, I want to have a group of adversarial cases, but there are some limitations that will come to the enterprise tier, and we'll have to have a chat about the use cases specifically. Like, for example, here you can create a set of scenarios based on production logs, and that's, again, only available for the enterprise account. So there are limitations on this free trial version. But that's it. It's different places to use Veris AI in the agentic development lifecycle. Love to have a chat. Please get in touch.